Fields seized, harvests stolen, and now shipped across the sea. Ukraine says Russia is selling its grain, and it says Israel is buying it. Kyiv is furious. Ambassadors have been summoned. Sanctions are being prepared. And at the center of it all, ships docked quietly in Haifa. Whose grain is it, really? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has once again accused Russia of exporting grain seized from occupied Ukrainian territories and warned Israel against allowing such shipments into its ports, calling the trade illegal and a threat to bilateral ties. Taking to his X account, Zelensky wrote that vessels carrying what he described as stolen grain had already reached Israeli ports.
In any normal country, purchasing stolen goods is an act that entails legal liability. This applies in particular to grain stolen by Russia. Another vessel carrying such grain has arrived at a port in Israel and is preparing to unload. This is not, and cannot be, legitimate business. The Israeli authorities cannot be unaware of which ships are arriving at the country's ports and what cargo they are carrying.
Zelensky alleged that Moscow is systematically orchestrating the seizure and export of Ukrainian grain through networks tied to occupation authorities.
Russia is systematically seizing grain on temporarily occupied Ukrainian land and organizing its export through individuals linked to the occupiers. Such schemes violate the laws of the State of Israel itself. Ukraine has taken all necessary steps through diplomatic channels to prevent such incidents. However, we see that yet another such vessel has not been stopped. I have instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine to inform all partners of our state about the situation.
Kyiv has now signaled punitive action, with Zelensky announcing a sanctions package targeting those involved in the export and purchase of stolen Ukrainian grain.
Based on information from our intelligence services, Ukraine is preparing a relevant sanctions package that will cover both those directly transporting this grain and the individuals and legal entities attempting to profit from this criminal scheme. We will also coordinate with European partners to ensure that the relevant individuals are included in European sanctions regimes.
The Ukrainian president has also directly called on Israel to reconsider its position.
Ukraine counts on partnership and mutual respect with every state. We are genuinely working to enhance security, particularly in the Middle East region. We expect that the Israeli authorities will respect Ukraine and refrain from actions that undermine our bilateral relations.
The diplomatic standoff had already escalated on April 27th. Ukraine summoned Israel's ambassador, and Foreign Minister Sybiha accused Tel Aviv of failing to act on Kyiv's warnings.
Friendly Ukrainian-Israeli relations have the potential to benefit both countries, and Russia's illegal trade with stolen Ukrainian grain should not undermine them. It is difficult to understand Israel's lack of appropriate response to Ukraine's legitimate request regarding the previous vessel that delivered stolen goods to Haifa. Now that another such vessel has arrived in Haifa, we once again warn Israel against accepting the stolen grain and harming our relations.
Israel pushed back strongly, with Foreign Minister Gideon Saar rejecting the accusations and saying Ukraine had not provided any evidence.
Diplomatic relations, especially between friendly nations, are not conducted on Twitter or in the media. Allegations are not evidence. Evidence substantiating the allegations have yet to be provided. You did not even submit a request for legal assistance before turning to the media and social networks. The matter will be examined. Israel is a state that abides by the rule of law with independent law enforcement authorities. All Israeli authorities will act in accordance with the law.
Despite that, a community note on Saar's post countered his claim, stating Ukraine had already provided evidence and formal legal requests since March. According to earlier reporting by Haaretz, a vessel identified as Panormitis was awaiting clearance to dock in Haifa, while at least 4 shipments of grain from occupied Ukraine had already been unloaded in Israel this year. The European Union has also taken note of the developments. A spokesperson told The Times of Israel that those involved could face sanctions, warning against any activity that helps fund Russia's war effort. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian diplomatic source warned that if Israel does not reject the cargo, Kyiv may escalate its response through a full suite of diplomatic and international legal responses. The dispute underscores growing friction between two countries that have maintained cautious ties throughout the war, now strained by allegations that touch on sanctions enforcement, wartime profiteering, and international law. As Kyiv sharpens its warnings and Israel stands its ground, the dispute over stolen grain is fast becoming a new front in the broader geopolitical fallout of the war. A Russian vessel carrying what Ukraine says is stolen grain has docked at Israel's Haifa port, putting Benjamin Netanyahu in an uncomfortable position between two wars and two allies he cannot afford to offend. Ukraine spotted the ship first. Its ambassador met senior Israeli foreign ministry officials on March 27th, asking them to block the vessel. Israel did not act, but it did make the ship wait. For 3 weeks, the Abinsk sat off the Israeli coast before being quietly waved in on April the 12th. The vessel had loaded more than 43,000 tons of wheat at a Russian port anchorage, with the grain traced back to occupied Ukrainian territory. It is believed to be part of Russia's shadow fleet, aging, poorly regulated tankers with opaque ownership structures that Moscow uses to move goods the world isn't supposed to see. With the vessel now berthed, Ukraine saw an opportunity. The country's attorney general met Israel's ambassador in Kyiv on April 15th, demanding that the ship be stopped from leaving. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha rang his Israeli counterpart, Gideon Sa'ar, directly.
The illegal export of stolen Ukrainian agricultural products is part of Russia's broader war effort. Such illegal trade with stolen goods must not be allowed.
The Ukrainian embassy in Israel called the ship's arrival a blatant violation of international law. If the cargo is confirmed as stolen Ukrainian grain, Israel could be in breach of US and international sanctions imposed after Russia's 2022 invasion. None of this is simple for Netanyahu. According to many reports by US and international media, Russia has been feeding Iran, targeting intelligence throughout the US-Israel war against Tehran. Yet Netanyahu has refused to supply Ukraine with Iron Dome, perhaps wary of provoking Moscow. 3 weeks at sea, then quietly let through. An alleged stolen grain shipment in Haifa port may force a choice he has spent 3 years carefully avoiding. But will Bibi dare touch Putin's ship, or turn the other way and just let it slip? Italy has pulled back from one of its most significant military partnerships, suspending the automatic renewal of its defense agreement with Israel. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni announced the decision, speaking at the Vinatali event in Verona, citing the current situation in Gaza.
The Italian government, considering the situation we are experiencing, has decided to suspend the automatic renewal of the defense agreement with Israel.
The agreement is a memorandum of understanding signed in 2003, covering military cooperation, arms transfers, and defense procurement. It has been renewed every 5 years, with the next renewal due on June 8th. Over the years, the two countries have traded significant military hardware under the pact, including Rafale Spike missiles, surveillance jets, and training equipment worth over $1 billion. The move had been anticipated. Earlier this year, Italian legal experts urged the government to block renewal, arguing the pact conflicts with Italy's constitution, which renounces war, and with ICC arrest warrants issued against Israeli leaders over the Gaza conflict. Meloni also addressed Washington directly, pushing back at US President Donald Trump over his recent remarks about the Pope, calling them unacceptable, and expressed solidarity with Pope Leo XIV.
What I said is what I think. Those statements, particularly regarding the pontiff, were unacceptable. I expressed, and continue to express, my solidarity with Pope Leo. I'll tell you more. Frankly, I would not feel at ease in a society where religious leaders do what political leaders tell them to do, let's say, not in this part of the world.
Italy has now joined a growing number of European governments reassessing their military ties with Israel. Whether this suspension becomes permanent remains an open question.